What up? What up? What up? What up, everybody? What's up, everybody? My name is Matt, sometimes the Grass Factor Martin, and for the next hour, I'm going to be your host. This is the show I call the Lawn Care Help Desk, meaning this is the show I take on purely a question and answer format. I don't know how else to describe it. This is just wide open format. You ask questions, I provide answers, and I try and run this for a straight hour. Now, today's my birthday, so I may go a little longer, I may go a little shorter. I don't know. We kind of took the day, did a little trip up the Cherokee National Forest and all that fun stuff, and played on the rocks. At least let the kids play on the rocks. I was still trying to recover. We had kind of a late night Zoom birthday Zoom last night. So thank y'all for everyone in here that was a part of that as well. That was a good time. I had a lot of fun, and sorry I had to dip, but that's kind of my MO. When it's time for me to go to bed, I go to bed immediately. No waiting around, no second guessing. I straight up disappear and go to bed. So I had a quick 5-minute phone call with Sean. What up, Sean? And passed out. Done. Dunzo. So we're all going to consider today's show penance and come right back in and do it all over as part 2. I just got done eating some key lime pie because most normal people have key lime pie instead of birthday cake on their birthday. And like I said, normal people do that. If you're not normal, it's okay. I will forgive you. But I tend to go after my favorites, and, you know. I like key lime pie. I like red velvet cake, too. Now I'm even one of the weirdos. I'll eat a carrot cake from time to time also. Not afraid. I'll get out there and get it. But the show this evening, what we're going to be doing is exactly that. This is the open format. You ask questions, I provide answers. And I want to make a couple things clear here is that I am human. I am fallible. I do make mistakes. Therefore, any suggestions or recommendations I make, please double check, triple check everything I say. I'll give you an example. You may say that you have cool season grass, and I may recommend you a nut sedge product that contains trifloxysulfuron, which will kill cool season grass. Sometimes I'll make that mistake. So if I do make that mistake, that's why I'm saying just double check, just double, triple check, because I do this all stream of consciousness, no preparation. Literally, I just go down the chat and answer questions as rapid fire, as quickly, and somewhat as completely as I can. Fuck, Daddy, what are you doing in here, good sir? My man. For those of you who don't know, you probably don't. Falk Daddy's old time friend of mine. He's been around for a long time. We are brothers and volunteers for sure. And glad you're here, good sir. And I'll take a cake from you any day of the week, good sir. Just I got to be careful if it's a cake coming from you, John. We might have a little trickery in the cakes coming from Falk Daddy. That's for sure. So, like I said, open format question and answer. And if you want to go ahead and start filling the chat with questions now, by all means, feel free to do so. A couple things to note here is that if I do not get to your question in a reasonable amount of time, I apologize. I take this in the order at which they come. So I start at the very beginning and then I work my way to the end. And also, I'm on about a 30-second delay. So when I'm actually speaking right now, you're not going to actually be hearing me until about 30 seconds after the fact. Then, like I said, also, I take it in the order in which they come. So if you have 10 questions ahead of you, I'm going to answer those 10 questions first, probably before I get to your question. So it may be a 20, 30-minute time frame for me to get through those 10 questions before I get there. If you notice I skip over your question, I apologize. I did not do it intentionally. I did it because I was because I do this all stream consciousness. And the second piece too is that oftentimes the chat will jump down and I have to scroll back up and try and find my place. And I try and do that in a timely way where I don't sound so ridiculous as I move through the chat. It gets a little squirrely sometimes. So that's why I got to do that. Mario, unnecessary. You do not have to do that, sir. Thank you. Let's see, what else? I think I gave that warning, and then I gave that warning, and then if I skip your question, feel free to re-ask because I make those mistakes as well, too. So, yeah. So we'll go ahead and recommend, go ahead. Start getting you some questions in the chat. And I'll let that start to build up so I can start answering them. Kenny already has jokes, which is, does Bo know who has the world's greatest Bermuda lawn? Soon to be Blue Muta. Yeah, I was going to say, as far as the world's greatest Bermuda lawn, I'm pretty certain that is Real Dad. You can search him right there in the search bar. Real Dad is going to be your thunderous world's greatest Bermuda lawn. Well, I mean, it says so right there in his video description. So we know we know exactly what it is. Thank you, OSU Turf Man, FTP, good sir, FTP, and you know it's still sitting right here in front of my camera. And I am looking at it right now. So we had a couple questions come in, so I'm going to go ahead and start answering these. And Ray Jimenez says, Speed Zone claims to kill goosegrass on the website. What do you think? So this is what's kind of interesting about Speed Zone. For whatever reason, that ester formulation combined with the carfentrazone does have good efficacy on goosegrass. Now, it's not great. It's not the smoking gun. And if you can catch it early, time just right, and usually if you have another kicker with it, then yeah, it can be a part of an effective management strategy. Going out with just repeat applications of Speed Zone, I doubt you're going to get a very good kill on it unless you're maintaining the turf, sub half inch, something like that. because then you're dealing with a much more tighter, confined, limited sized plant there. So speed zone in that instance probably not, but may offer you some control. It would probably be. It would probably be closer to suppression more so than control. So probably what you would want to add to that is something like a low rate of Pilex. So, we're talking like 1/4 of an ounce per acre of Pilex. Maybe if you add some tenacity alongside of that. I know some people were having success actually with Simazine and Speed Zone. So, but for whatever reason, there's just some kind of weird synergy among the active ingredients in Speed Zone that does have a certain amount of efficacy on goosegrass. So there you go. In fact, one of the first places I heard it was actually from University of Tennessee. And then since then, it's kind of become more and more of a thing where I see people in golf using it more as part of a management strategy now than they used to. Let's see, I'm going to go back to this because hang on, NA1DU, because right after that, somebody said how to handle goosegrass. And it depends on what your grass type is, but I'll kind of give you a couple different options here. Pilex is going to be universal in the sense that you can use it on warm season or cool season turf. On Bermuda or cool season turf, I think you can actually put it on centipede, and I think St. Augustine, the label says for sod farms. I'm going off memory here. You'll want to double check that on the label. But that is going to be a good mix there. Also on Bermuda, you can go the Revolver route. Revolver has decent efficacy with it. And if you want to, trick it up, you can put a little Celsius alongside of it. If you're in cool season grass, you're really kind of limited to Acclaim. And, is Acclaim going to be all that effective on it? Acclaim and Pilex being your big heavy lifter there, especially at even a half rate of Pilex, when I'm talking about a half ounce per acre, is going to do exceptionally well in controlling goosegrass. NA1DU said, what do you think about mixing a half ounce of Solitaire plus 1 ounce of Speed Zone XT? Does that make a good combo? I don't know the rates of Solitaire off the top of my head, or Speed Zone 4-Speed XT. I can't remember. But as far as an application, yes, those will go well together because you've got 2,4-D, triclopyr. Golly, what is the kicker in that in 4-Speed XT? It's the same one that's in Octane. Pyrofluoroethyl is what it is. So and there's one that I think dicamba's in it or something like that.
Hell yeah!
So you got a nice combination there that's very effective on broadleaf weeds. Then what you would be doing, I'm sorry, my nose is running. It keeps choking me up. Then what you're doing is you're taking a whole next level of broadleaf control by bringing in a different mode of action with the quinclorac in it. Quinclorac is actually pretty friggin' effective on broadleaf weeds. So if you look at the label, you'll see that there's actually quite a few broadleaf weeds on that label. So what you would effectively, what you're doing is you're taking an already great broadleaf weed control and adding just a little bit more oomph to it. Now, what I would expect by mixing that, because now you got Solitaire, which has sulfentrazone, which is a PPOI, and you've got 4-Speed XT, which has pyrofluoroethyl, also another PPOI, is I would expect some pretty significant collateral damage out of it. So if you do not want to burn your existing turf, I would not use that tank mix. That tank mix guaranteed will burn turf. When you start mixing PPOIs like that, it's just the name of the game, what you're going to get out of it. It's like going out with Dismiss NXT, which is carfentrazone and sulfentrazone. In my opinion, one of the dumbest products on the market right now. But I digress. It works, and it works very effectively, but it just doesn't make sense to me from a logical or scientific standpoint either. It just doesn't make sense. You know, when you're trying to take something that shows efficacy in 3 days and then show efficacy in 24 hours, that doesn't make sense why you would need to speed that up anymore. It's silly. So I digress. This is a completely different product. So can you mix those two? Yes. Should you mix those twos? I'm not really seeing a need to do it. So in my opinion, that's kind of overkill, and it's definitely going to cause some collateral damage. But can you do it? Yes. Would it be effective in killing weeds? Yes. Do you have to do that to kill weeds? No. 4-Speed XT in and of itself is going to be effective on broadleaf weeds, very much so. As far as Solitaire in and of itself is going to be fairly effective on the majority of broadleaf weeds you apply it on too. So, yeah, I would just pick, personally, if it was me, I would just pick one or the other. Mark Taylor's picking up my Mountain View turf type tall fescue seed this week. If I have left over, is it any good for next season? Also, what do the seed companies do with their leftover seed each year? Well, it's very important to them that they get all of it sold as quickly as possible, because once the seed is out of date, and you'll see, like if it's got last year's tag on it, it'll have some sort of expiry date, or it may be like at exactly 1 year, they could no longer sell it according to the local Department of Agriculture, your state's Department of Agriculture. So they have to figure a way how to sell it within that window. And that's why they normally keep their inventory extremely tight on seed, because they don't want to have a bunch of it laying around from year over year, year over year. At some point, they're going to sell out, and they're going to be like, yeah, that's just it. We're out of seed. Normally, that'll be sometime in the spring. They'll try and keep just a little bit for spring, something like that. I'm kind of speaking from how I know things are in the transition zone. And I've seen, some dealers sell out of date seed, last year's seed, for like a good price or something. But again, those distributors get caught selling that is a year old, then they're going to be potentially facing trouble. As a general rule of thumb, you can expect another 10, 15, maybe 20% decline in germination after about a year. Andy Kelly said, would applying Dialox after aeration be any more or less effective than applying to a non-aerated lawn? It's a moot point. There's no real reason to do it because it is relatively mobile downwardly. So what's more important, the most important thing about applying Dialox is that you immediately water it in after application. The longer it sits at a period of time without watering in, you have greater potential for loss of efficacy of that product. And then also the second piece of this, and this tells you how I'm just not super familiar with that label anyway. When we were talking to Ray on Pick the Doc's Brain, he was talking about how even if you have hard water can reduce, can speed up the rate at which it degrades in the soil. So you want to make sure you're using the appropriate water pH even when you're watering in as well. Otherwise, your half-life on that product's going to be dropped pretty low. So anyway, there you go. When spraying depth in a time of seeding, what is the appropriate rate? 1 week, 2 week, or monthly max? So I would probably stick somewhere around 32 ounces per 1,000 square feet. So whatever that is on the label, 32 ounces per 1,000 square feet. Anything besides glyphosate to kill quackgrass? No, not really. And well, if you are in warm season turf, although I believe you've got Bermuda grass. So if you're in warm season turf, then you can get a little creative. I would probably start with like Revolver would be a good one, or Tribute Total would be a good one. And what I like about Tribute is that you're also applying Celsius, Revolver, and House of Huron, Sedge Hammer. So kind of a nice cure-all there. You kind of throw in the kitchen sink at it. And I'm fairly certain quackgrass will not survive an application in warm season turf of Tribute Total. But if you spray Tribute Total on cool season grass, you're going to kill it without a doubt. It'll be dead. Jason, what up, Mr. Trailer? Matt, what do you think about next year overseeding my Bermuda with a nice variety of Bermuda to try and lessen the difference between the two varieties that I have? Worth it? To be honest, Jason, I do not know. I just don't know. It's totally possible, and it may work out in your favor. To be honest, I do not have the experience with it. I don't know how it's going to work for you. Just kind of thinking about it, I think you would be fine to do so. If you can get it up and established, then I think you're going to be fine. And that is a good way to tackle, trying to lessen the difference between the two. But just, do I have any experience doing that? I do not. So do it and report back on how well it ends up working. Protect guy says Citron versus Mesotrione. I am not a Mesotrione fan. I'm not a Tenacity fan. I think it's an extremely overrated herbicide as far as what it does. But again, I don't think Citron is really much of an herbicide either. So kind of pick your poison. Me personally, I don't care about dealing with weeds in any of my seed jobs. So it's just as easy for me to go after things post-emergently than it is for me to go after it pre-emergently in a seed setting. In fact, I would rather go about it post-emergently than go after it pre-emergently when I'm trying to establish seed, because I don't want any kind of weirdness to take place. And that with Mesotrione, people have said it's a little bit slower when you do use Mesotrione, but it does end up pulling through. I don't want any of that because I'm getting paid for the fastest results possibly. Therefore, I'm not doing that. If I need to come back in, 4 weeks after I seed or 4 weeks after it's up and make a post-emergent weed control application, I can do that. I feel comfortable doing that. Trying to force these pre-emergents, which are kind of half-ass pre-emergents at best, to work in my favor is really, in my opinion, a crapshoot and not worth the money. PPC said, I'm going to seed without an aerator. You got any product suggestions? Not a wetting agent would be the only thing I would recommend. If you are not using an aerator, and I would use a wetting agent that is designed to hold soil moisture at that surface layer of the soil, because obviously it's going to be water that's most important in getting that germinated in the absence of an aerator, right? So the first part of it is a wetting agent. Then the second part of it too is make sure you're using a soluble phosphorus source, because as that root tacks down, it needs immediately the available phosphorus to get it going. So really those would be my two suggestions, and you can run those two side by side. Kind of a different approach, but it will still work just fine. I think that's people get sucked into the allure of aerating that it needs to happen in order to overseed. It doesn't have to happen to overseed. You certainly can, and then aerate and overseed it, but you don't have to. It's not going to be the difference between you having successful germination and non-successful germination. If you don't have the water, none of it's going to take place, right? Now, with aeration, the advantage there is that if you got the holes to protect the seed and you do get rain, it'll hold in that hole a little bit longer, a little bit more shade. And so you can probably still get some germination out of it, even if you don't irrigate, if you do aerate. But if you do irrigate, then really you could put that burden of the responsibility onto the irrigation system and just let it ride. Timmy Bluegrass, Matt, quick shrub question. I live in Maryland and we'll be planting a few new shrubs, summer sweets, this week. Should I fertilize them when I plant them? You can. You don't have to, but you can. You certainly can. You'll see some people, swear, hey, look, you got to use Osmocote, or hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. In reality, if you use a good potting soil, when you mix it, a lot of that is going to have a pretty significant fertility load with it. So you can do it that way. Even putting a little in on your shrubs in the fall, with them being new transplants, I wouldn't be worried about it. You know what? Actually, I used to use the homogeneous granular product called Rainbow Plant Food. I love that product, and I actually used to use that on trees and shrubs almost exclusively. In fact, it worked so well for me on trees and shrubs. That was why I put it on turf for the first time, and I have to say, I fell in love with it after I used that product, and still do. I still love that product very much so. So in my opinion, if I was planting summer sweets, and let me look this up real quick because I don't know the name off the top of my head. But if I see it in a picture, I might. let's see. Here's a picture here. Oh, clethras. Yes, man. Yeah, I would not think twice about it. I'd fertilize it. Get you a little triple 13 down, or triple 20, or triple 19, or triple 10, and call it good. And I would not give it a second thought. Clethras, especially as hybridized as these are at this point, I wouldn't think anything about it. Fert it and go. Let's see. Hey, Matt, can you aerate after applying POA constrictor? Yeah, you can. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing about that herbicide that's going to keep you from aerating. I guess you're saying, are you going to lose your pre-emergent efficacy out of it after you spray POA constrictor? I think you're talking about it from the standpoint of similar to prodiamine. Like, people tell you that if you need to bust up the pre-emergent prodiamine, aerate it. Anytime you manipulate the structure of the soil that way, I'd pretty much go ahead and sign off on all pre-emergent efficacy. So, yes, you can. Is it going to render a problem with POA constrictor or ethifumicate as a preventative? In my opinion, yes, it would cause a problem. Aaron Taylor, I seeded bare dirt 3 days ago with Seed Superstore Bluegrass Blend. I'm already seeing germination, and I'm starting to worry it's POA. Is it unheard of to have Kentucky Bluegrass germinate in 3 days? No. So I played around with Pete Denny's Kentucky Bluegrass, and I had it germinating in 3 days, no problem at all. That stuff was lightning fast. Soil pH 6.1 in St. Louis transition zone turf type tall fescue. Test results call for 32 pounds per thousand of gypsum due to low calcium level. Any thoughts? Lime. So if you're at a 6.1, do you really need to apply lime? No. Can you apply lime in that scenario? Yeah, you can. 32 pounds per thousand at a pH of 6.1 would probably, depending on the size of the particle that you apply, might move you up to a 6.5, maybe a 6.7, maybe a 6.8 kind of worst case scenario. And part of that depends on your buffer pH and your lime buffering capacity of your soil, and I don't have all that information. Purely at gypsum used to raise the calcium levels of your soil, that's fine. It's fine for you to use it that way. But I wouldn't expect it to do anything magical. Like when you start reading these things about gypsum and clay busting and all this crap, or I've even seen some people recommend gypsum to lower soil pH, and that's all just garbage scam. I mean, it's not scientifically, it's so far from accurate that it should make anybody's head explode. Personally, with whatever you're doing there, if you need to bring up your calcium levels that much, I would probably do half of it in gypsum and then the other half in lime. And then, yeah, that's what I would do. So I would be totally comfortable bringing my soil pH up to a 6.5, 6.7, something like that. So I'd start with lime. You still need to move your calcium level and throw a little gypsum in on top of it. Look at this. What was this? Let me scroll up here. Got the clearance seed at Lowe's just to remember to keep on water for 15 days. Look at that. Brad, B-Rad's got some advice for you there. Paul's Prime Cuts, Mr. Outlaw. What's a good product for insects in flower beds, Zone 8B? Man, there's tons of them. It depends on what insects you're going after. Are you talking about like mosquitoes, or are you talking about like fire ants? Because each of those are going to have kind of a different approach to control. So as kind of a general rule of thumb, you have the thrins, right? Your synthetic pyrethroids. So permethrin, deltamethrin, bifenthrin, all of those are going to be synthetic pyrethroids. They're all going to be effective as kind of a general use insecticide. What is the other one? Demand CS is I can't remember what the active ingredient is here. I'm googling it real quick. Lambda cyhalothrin. Okay, so all of these kind of fall into that category. Synthetic pyrethroids, good general use pesticides, right? If you want to specifically go after like fire ants, then you're going to want to look at something like Top Choice with fipronil in it. If you're going after like crepe myrtle bark scale, then you're probably wanting to do either a drench of imidacloprid or a a bark application of something like Safari. If you're going after subsurface insects, then you probably want to go after something like Dilox, for instance. So it really depends on what you're going after. But again, general use insecticides, I would look at one of the synthetic pyrethroids. I like permethrin. I feel like bifenthrin has been so overused that it's just basically no longer effective anymore. Best product for spotted spurge. Yeah, you kind of pick your poison on your broadleaf weed controls in this instance. So, Speed Zone is going to be a good product. And I think you are in Chicago, so you're dealing with cool season grass. So Speed Zone would be a good product. That 4-Speed XT would be a good product. Escalade 2 would be a good product. Any of these broadleaf herbicides, especially ones that have like a little bit of triclopyr, fluroxypyr in it, are going to be great as kickers. Ones that have a kicker like sulfentrazone or carfentrazone or pyrofluoroethyl, those are going to be very effective for you too. What's up, Nicholas Polio, sir? Taking my pesticide license test next week to become legit. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Do the damn thing. Proud of you. Billy G said, having a struggle with killing Virginia buttonweed in tall fescue. Use Speed Zone EW at label rate. Dinged it, but comes back strong. Could I expect better results from Speed Zone Red? Hey, buddy. You going to bed? All right, I love you, son. So Speed Zone Red, I think is the original Speed Zone label. I'm going to look it up real quick just to make sure I'm not crazy. Hi, princess. I love you. All right, go to sleep. Yeah, so Speed Zone Red is just the traditional label. What was the other one you said you used? Speed Zone EW? I have no idea what EW is. EW. Golly. Let me type this in. So this one is Speed Zone Southern. Okay. Yeah, neither of these are going to be effective for you. What you're looking for is something that contains triclopyr or fluroxypyr or flumioxazin. So you have Sure Powder would be one option for you. The ones I mentioned earlier, like Escalade 2 or Cool Power, or I think maybe even Horsepower. I think also Momentum FX2 from Site 1. Hey, dog, what are you doing, sir? Unnecessary. Thank you, brother. It's your birthday, yeah. Dog. It's your birthday. And let's see. Yeah, any of those, and 4-Speed XT would be a great product for you too. All of those are going to do much better than Speed Zone is. Speed Zone has 2,4-D ester, which is good, but it's not going to be great for Virginia buttonweed. Again, so Sure Power, and then 4-Speed XT, Momentum FX2, Helena has one, Battleship 3, Escalade 2, Cool Power. Yeah, all of those are going to be very effective for you. What's up, Seti Mac? How are you? Good, sir. I'm in Greenville, South Carolina. When should I plant my Blue Heat Kentucky Bluegrass? 80s in the day, 60s, 70s at night. I'm thinking about right now, but I'm not a professional. Man, looking at our weather right now, I'd say you're a tad bit on the early side, but I'd go ahead and get it down, get it up, get it protected, and get it through that sprout and pout phase. So I'd just run ham with it personally. So, man, go ahead, get going on it, and let's see what happens. I don't think it's too early at all. What's up, T Snowy? Starting to see some improvement in my shrubs. Very overwhelming, though. I would say so. I mean, especially when you're dealing with trees. Trees are pretty friggin' intense to deal with. So, yeah. I think you're going to be okay. Richard Setimac is going to be doing a little Bermuda down there in Greenville, South Carolina, I believe. overseeded today. When can I apply a fungicide if I should at all? Normally I have 2 to 3 bad spots, a dollar spot that I can't get rid of. Well, you should be moving out of dollar spot right now. If you're dealing with dollar spot, I would say, and I don't know what you overseeded with, but you should be kind of moving out of that window, especially with the lower daylight hours. So I would keep it fed, and I would make sure you're using something where you're applying NP and K. Make sure you've got plenty of K going down, especially. Because that's always kind of my first line of defense with dollar spot, right? So you're applying nitrogen to grow it out. And then the second piece of that, too, is that you make sure you've got plenty of K available for the plant, too, for that hardening off effect that you get out of it. So that would be my first approach. I would not be looking to apply a fungicide if I just overseed, unless you see consistently 90-plus degrees during the day and 70-plus at night, where it does not dip below that. And I'm saying it doesn't dip below 70. Like if it gets to 68, I'm checking out. I'm not worried about it. I'm not applying anything. Matt, any experience with 4-Speed XT? I'm looking to run it this fall for cool season turf. Yeah, Nicholas Polio, I did a whole video actually controlling where I was spraying it for 4-Speed XT. I used to run it in the fall because it was just such a good product. And if I could get a cheap enough deal on it, that would be my fall application after overseeding was 4-Speed XT. Looking to add Biosolid along with CXDIY to my aeration. I saw a little video of yours recommending a new green. Would you recommend Milorganite for aeration because of the P, or stick with a new green? You can kind of pick your poison there, however you want to do it. Probably, and you have to remember that any of that phosphorus that's available is going to have to go through mineralization first. So it's not going to be a quickly available P. It will be very slowly available over a long period of time. And because we're on the cooling trend right now, chances are, I would say realistically, only about 30% of that P is going to release anyway. So this is the time of year where I would not be looking to use biosolids. If it was in the spring, I'd feel more comfortable with it. Right now, I wouldn't. So I would probably be using something just like a 1010 or 1313, or kind of pick your poison there. How long after spraying I jumped down again. How long after spraying along with Quinclorac and Speed Zone can I put down grass seed? So Quinclorac is going to be pretty seed safe. So what you want to pay attention to there is the Speed Zone label. And I believe, let me see, Speed Zone label. We got lots of people using Speed Zone. Let me do a quick search here about reseed. Reseeding interval, treated areas may be reseeded 2 weeks after application is what the label says, so I would wait 2 weeks before seeding. What's going on? 3 lines only. We are here. We are here. A lot of disease application rates on 33, 36 say 4 to 6 ounces per thousand, but max application rate for residential is 2 ounces per thousand. Can you explain? Yeah, on residential lawns, they don't want you applying that much material. So, in professional turf settings or height of cut settings where disease pressure may be higher, they may allow for a larger application rate, but in a residential setting, they don't want you doing that because of the potential for quote-unquote overexposure. So that's why they limit the rate in residential like that. Since tomorrow is a holiday, are you going to be on? Actually, probably yes, I will go ahead and be on because I got nothing else to do. I'm seeing reduced efficacy with bifenthrin only. Should I look to transition to a better strategy for broad application? Yes. Or just changes a completely different mode of action or different active ingredient. Bifenthrin is just no longer what it used to be, so I would not expect it to do much for you. Plus, farm cuts emulsifies water EW. I know. But what I was curious is was there any changes on the label? But I realized the EW formulation is Speed Zone Southern, which means lower 2,4-D and all that fun stuff. That was my confusion, sir. Paul, log on to Zoom, and man, let's get you on the show if you can. Oh, I'll throw you on up here. I may have to do some fuddling around to make all the windows work, but I think I can get you up here, no problem. It's about to start cooling down here in Western Kentucky. Yeah, no doubt. That is for sure. And once it starts, boy, it starts. That's just the truth. Full renovation seeding today. Okay. Full renovation seeding today. Excited and nervous at the same time. Carbonated products for sure. Excited about that. But I ran out of peat moss for cover. Should I be concerned? No. Really the only reason you're applying peat moss is to hold moisture at the ground. So can you do renovations without peat moss? I'll tell you this. I've done thousands of renovations over my career, and I've never used peat moss. So I would not be concerned. I would never take the time to apply peat moss, more or less spend the money on it. What are your thoughts on seeding 100% fine fescue? Likes and dislikes, and it's hard to maintain in the summer months. You are in Western Kentucky. Don't do it. Do not do it. I tell you where if you want to cross, you start moving up into South Dakota, North Dakota time, a place up there, or up far in the Northeast in Maine, something like that. Then yeah, you can get away with it. If you have only 6 legit months of decent warm weather, then it's going to be a good option for you. If you are dealing with transition zone temperatures, fine fescue is never going to work for you. It's just not. So I would go ahead and nix that as an idea. And do not use it, and stick to tall fescue. Tall fescue is going to be a much better fit for you in that scenario. Do you have any general advice for working with bent grass? Real mow it is kind of the most important part there. Make sure you have a very, very legitimate fungicide program, and if you can get fans on it, because there's all kinds of data that goes back to show the importance of getting fans on bent grass. So yeah, that's that, and also I would probably try and grow that on a sand cap more so than a native soil. I don't know where you are, Nicholas, so I'm kind of just crap shooting out. At least the experience I have with it, but as again, that's here in the transition zone. What can I use to treat for spotted lanternflies? As far as a I'm not sure anything, quote unquote imamectin benzoate may be effective in that kind of sphere as far as being a pre. As far as post, Safari is going to be very effective for you. Dinotefuran is going to be very effective. Wait, here we go. I got text messages. How do I do the Zoom? Paul, let me do this, and let me do this. Hang on one second. And then I'm going to do this. Okay, I'm going to add that, and then I'm going to copy this invitation. And then, Paul, I am emailing you how to log into this. So that's going to Paul's email. And then I just emailed it to you. So we can do that part. And then let me text you back and tell you that I emailed it to you. Look at this. This is all real time right here. All right, so now I'm gonna kind of play with the screen real quick to make all this work. I need to add something here. Let me add a. I think I can add a window capture. Yeah, I will add this source. Okay. And then I'm going to add Zoom. Nope, not that one. And then I'll add this. Okay. All right, Paul. So it's ready on my end whenever you log in. And you should be good to go, and then I can just buzz you right on into the show. So yeah, spider and lanternfly. On the get go, on the front end of all that, the easiest thing to do is if you see them, load up on the Dynatefron, make a Dynatefron application, and that's going to be very effective. As far as experimentally, I would look for some sort of studies on ivermectin benzoate. It's so effective on like the emerald ash borer and having such long long time frames of systemic activity that I'm thinking it may work for you there. I just don't know 100%, but I do know Dynatefron would work for you. Let's see here. Matt, organic weed control, looking at HEDTA iron Fiesta for selective. Can this be considered organic? Thoughts on this versus sodium chloride? Adios. Thoughts on overall efficacy? Okay, yeah, I can tell you exactly this. The HEDTA iron is considered an organic weed control for whatever reason. Is it in actuality? No, because it's just a chelated iron. That is not a mined material. So, but if it makes you feel better, or if it fits the confines of a contract you're bidding on or something, then by all means you can go with it. And then the second piece of it was, what was the second thing you said? Oh yeah, sodium chloride, definitely not organic. Now there are some salts that are mined, and maybe that is what they're going after too. They're mining that salt and using that and calling it good. In terms of on overall efficacy, they both don't work. So what they do is burn the foliage off, but as far as any kind of residual control, no. So the idea is that you can juice your existing grass growing as aggressively as possible, and then you burn the leaves off of the weeds, and that through some sort of repeated action there, that you might actually be able to kill it, actually kill the weed long term after 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sprays. And that's really the only experience I've had. I've tried to kill weeds with the Fiesta portion of it. No real success. If I was in Canada, where I have pretty much more narrowed on the range of weeds I face, maybe it would work for me. But I'd say I've even sprayed Fiesta like on Dallas grass here, which is a real popular one, and it doesn't even discolor it. So. And in fact, where it did start to discolor is actually where it just became non-selective at that point. It was actually killing the turf as well. So just it doesn't fit into my wheelhouse, so I don't have the experience with it. And I'm just going to warn you that I would not expect anything less than 4, 5, 6 applications a year with just those products. And I doubt you can blanket spray them. I would say you probably have to spot spray those alone. Put down some sand mixed with topsoil in a shaded area that struggles with drainage. Not horrible, just always stays wet and lots of worms. Any difference to be aware of when putting down seed on sand? No, especially if it's mixed with soil. It's going to retain water, so it may dry out a little faster, but you should be fine. In Pacific Northwest, putting down ryegrass. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I think you'll be fine either way. How can I kill creeping bentgrass in Meyer zoysia if possible? So I would use any of your sulfonylureas, so metsulfuron methyl or trifloxysulfuron. Monument would be exceptionally effective. Revolver form sulfuron would be exceptionally effective. Tribute total would be exceptionally effective. All of those would work just very, very, very well, very quickly too. If overseeding thick turf, do you have to aerate? Would taking down the height of cut and dethatching be enough? How long to wait before tenacity app on a bare area? So if it's thick turf, no, you definitely don't have to aerate. Yeah, you can just drop the height of cut, and it doesn't even have to be thick turf. It can be thin turf, and you can do the same thing. In fact, if it's thick turf, you can even opt not to overseed. That's totally fine too. You can do that as well. And even if it is a bare area, I'm still not putting tenacity on it. You can if you want, and as far as the timing of it, just follow the label on that. But I'm not putting that on on a berry area. Like I was talking about earlier, berry, I don't like tenacity. I don't. It doesn't fit into my budgets. It doesn't fit into what I expect out of a product. So I personally just wouldn't use it. And Paul, let's see what happens here. Did you click the link? And make sure I didn't mess something up on my end as far as settings are concerned. Yeah, that was the one there. I tell you what, let me do this. And then I'm going to go here, 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 just to make sure I didn't screw anything up. Yeah, I do not. I don't see him in here. You're very welcome, Seti Max, sir. Very welcome. Can lignite brown coal be used as a replacement to biochar in a mix? Being from Australia, I can't get your product, sadly. It's similar but different. So brown coal lignite is going to have high surface area, but that's going to be more towards cation exchange capacity, and certain biochars are going to have ability to move more towards anion exchange capacity, but also some biochars are just going to be rich in CECs as well. So there is definitely some crossovers. Brown coal is typically going to have a higher lipid content in it as well. And so that's why when you react it with the hydroxide, that's how you get all that happening, because there's a lipid portion to it. So no, it's not the same. Two totally different bulk densities. One is going to be highly absorptive. The other one is not, just due to the bulk density of the product alone. But they do have high surface area, and as kind of a result of that, they do have high cation exchange capacities both. But I would not expect. They're not going to perform the same at all. Can you use lignite in place of it? Yeah, certainly. You certainly can. No problem there. What is Paul's ratio of beer to molasses and the application rate he wouldn't give up in a past video? I'm dying to know. I have no idea. Any recommendations for someone with treated well water, limited or no irrigation, managing their turf? I don't know what treated well water is, so it's going to be hard for me to make a recommendation there. Yeah. So I don't know. Is it being treated for like hard water or soft water or something like that? Because to be honest, I don't know. I really don't. I'm not the person to ask for that. Any kind of water quality studies or anything like that, I have not paid attention to. I've never faced the dilemma, so therefore I've never learned about it. I apologize, Andy. That's not going to be what I'm going to be able to figure out. What's up, Chris Stout? How are you, good sir? Hey man, when is that extra app going to be available? I don't know. I do not know. So I will get together with our Tim Barge guys and see what they want to do. It will probably be after aeration and seeding. Any advice on setting myself up this fall for better results next spring? Weird question, but I want to jump out the gate next year. I have money to spend this fall and need to prep for next year. So if you're dealing with cool season grass, just seed the cultivars into it that you want to seed into it. Hell yeah! I mean, that would be the big thing that I would focus on. Thank you, B-Rad. Thank you, sir. And really, that's it. So go ahead, map out your fertilizer plan, dial that in, seed in the cultivars that you want seeded in, and make sure you take the time to learn and pay attention to the details of it. And then, yeah, call it good. I mean, it's definitely not rocket science. It's just not. I don't think there's anything special you need to do, but the information is out there on how to do it. It just ultimately comes down to actually doing it. Spots where I reseeded in another area and used peat moss over seed. Some spots the peat moss rose up with the new grass and was yellow underneath. That because of lack of sun, but peat moss covering. Yes, Money Bee, that's exactly what that is. It could have to do with the pH of the peat moss, but I doubt it's going to make that much of a difference. Steve Willie, they found Cody, huh? Are you calling me Cody? Because Steve, I'll reach through this monitor and I will old man your ass up and down Kingsport, Tennessee right now, sir. I'm just kidding. You know I love you, Steve. How soon can I cut after I aerate and overseed? Once it grows to the height at which it can be cut, you're safe to cut it. I mean, it's as simple as that. That if you're going to maintain it at 2 inches, it gets to 2 inches, then you're good to go. Go ahead, cut it and call it good. Literally, the only thing you need to do, Paul Outlaw, is just click the link. Just click that link and it should do the rest. He's been trying for 11 minutes now to get a Zoom link to open. I tell you what, I sometimes I must forget how much of a millennial I am, because I struggle with things, but I tell you what, Paul's having a hard time. I may have to patch him through on the phone or something if he can't. The bad thing is every time you see Paul on my channel is that we're using Zoom. We've already done this. Paul, I'm going to put you in a headlock, sir. I'm getting aggressive over here. It's my birthday. I'm going to get aggressive, angry. Sorry, I'm kind of adjusting the camera there. What is better than Bifin for mole crickets and grubs? So Dilox for grubs, for mole crickets, Fipronil. Both of those are going to be much more effective. Paul just sent me the letter H. That was all I got. Just the letter H. Paul, I can't help you with the letter H. I'm sure that means something. That may be a cry for help. That may be just the H in help. But I need to be sure that you're actually asking me to help before I start calling 911 for someone to come rescue your ass. Anything worth applying during wintertime? Bermuda never goes fully dormant in my area. Not really. I would focus more on the water than anything. And really, I would just leave it alone. Make sure you keep your weeds out of it, all that fun stuff. But unless you need to do any kind of like real amending to the soil, like you need to do a big pH shock, or you need to apply a bunch of lime, or then you can do it. But outside of that, it's not. Yeah, nothing really. Bermuda's kind of nice on that front. That once it kind of starts to shut down like that, you can basically just leave it alone and call it good. Go, enjoy you a cold Pacifico and watch it be partially green. Getting a few red blades of grass in my new zoysia been laid about 5 weeks. Any idea why? So that red, if I had to guess, I'm just gonna kind of go out on a limb here, and this could be it. It could be a symptom of something else. I'm gonna say that red is probably due to a phosphorus deficiency. Probably. So I don't know if any starter fertilizer was applied, but I would apply a starter fertilizer. If a starter fertilizer was applied and it's red, it could be something else, and I don't know. I would start with the soil test, take a look at it and see if anything sticks out, and I would test the soil underneath where the sod is supposed to be growing into, not where it is actually where it came with the I can't remember. You don't want to. Sorry, I was reading somebody else's comment and said I can't remember. You don't want to pull from. Hell yeah! You don't want to pull from the area that came delivered with the sod that the grass is growing in. You want to pull actually from the subsurface area where you want the sod to grow into, to get an accurate idea. But that's just my first thought. Now, the second piece of this too is, Mark, I don't know where you are. If you just laid zoysia grass about 5 weeks ago, it's trying to shut down right now too. And as it's trying to shut down, you might get a little weirdness in your in the color of it, especially if you've had a couple of cool spells or cold snaps that occurred. That can kind of cause some problems with it too. I need to get my pH up. Low 5s, turpentine tall fescue, transition zone. What's the best time to lime now that I'm in overseed window? Get it down before. How long to wait for overseed, during, or wait 2+ months? So if you plan on aerating, this would exactly be the time where I would aerate. I would aerate and go ahead and apply, something like 30, 40, maybe even upwards of 50 pounds of lime with your seed. And pick which lime is going to fit for you. Again, just look for your particle size, the appropriate particle size to make that work. I did a video about lime that you can look to if you want to learn more about actual lime products themselves. But if you're going to be aerating, go ahead, open it up, get that material worked in and working for you while you're growing in your new seed. Connected to mowing question from previous person on new grass. When you mow new grass and get ruts, should it pop up quickly or something to do with the ruts in new grass from summer? It should, usually within, I would say like 72 hours, it should pop back up. And that's why it's so important to change your directions every time you cut it too. But normally within 72 hours, it should stand back up. A lot of these are being bred for their seedling vigor. So that's how quickly can it respond? How quickly can it establish? How quickly can it move upwardly? How quickly can it move outwardly? Seedling vigor, how tough it is. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I would just go ahead and cut it, be done with it, not worry about it. Then the next time it's time to cut it, change the direction. Realistically, I wouldn't mow it any more than you have to. I definitely wouldn't put it on one of those daily mowing routines where I'm going to cut it every day, whether I need to or not. I would actually only cut it when you need to. Today's show was brought to you by the letter H and the number 3. Cool season grass infested with nimblewill. Hit the mesotrione multiple times, then tried seeding with OP Supreme Kentucky Bluegrass. Nimblewill came back. What can I do to get the Kentucky Bluegrass to dominate? Well, it's going to be... you gotta find a post-emergent control solution for it. If tenacity isn't getting it for you, I would expect multiple applications of tenacity or multiple applications of Pylex in order to get control of that. I don't think you're just going. I don't know. The Kentucky Bluegrass might form enough density to keep it out. I honestly don't know. So if it does come back, I would expect 3, 4, maybe even 3, 4 applications of tenacity or 3 applications of Pylex to get rid of it. My bids for jobs have been higher than the competitors around me, but I'm trying to implement a better program. How do you explain prices? I don't know if this is in your wheelhouse. Yeah. So first and foremost is. Yes, you have to sell the fact that you are running a better program. And part of that is going to be what I always tried to do was get an idea from the customer of why they weren't happy with whoever they had previously used. And we would take a look at it, and I would come up with a new solution on the spot and then build the program around making sure that if this is your number one complaint with that previous company, then I'm going to make it my priority that we solve this complaint. And that's why you're going to pay me more, because the rest of the other companies are only going to be able to complete what they have on their truck. And 99% of the time, it's not going to be a fix for this specific problem that you're mad about. So I cost more because my program is tailored towards your specific problem, not what I have on my truck. So that's kind of how I ran with that one. Oh, what? Oh, man, Steve, is he all right? What herbicide can I use to get wild violets out of Bermuda, since terpentine ester will suppress it? Celsius works very well. Quinclorac works very well too. Celsius plus quinclorac works very well as well also. And methylfuran methyl will work well on it too as well. Lots of wells as well too as well. Is there anything to suppress the bleaching effect of Pylex on desirable grasses? Yes. You can use like zinc sulfate is particularly effective. Manganese sulfate is particularly effective. So I would, is it, just be careful because those are salts and metals. They can be over applied. They can cause toxicity symptoms. So, if you wanted to go out with something, like a couple pounds an acre or something like that, that may help a little bit for what you're trying to achieve. How many times can I apply starter fur in the fall? Put down hybrid starter 3 weeks ago during aerate and overseed. I think you come in with green pot. So normally I would just put it down once. Unless you have an extreme phosphorus deficiency. If you don't have an extreme phosphorus deficiency, then definitely just put it down once and be done with it. So yeah, that would be my suggestion. From that point, I would switch over more towards nitrogen focus. What would you ever use Pilex on centipede grass? Yes, I would have no problems with that. And I would just test it on a small area first before I went absolute ham with it. Nut sedge is the devil, the only weed giving me trouble right now. Well, there's lots of options for it. Of course, halcyofuran, sulfentrazone, Solero, which is amazosulfuron. There's amazoquin. There's trifloxysulfuron. There's flazosulfuron. There's lots of different sulfosulfuron. All those are going to be good options. So it depends on what kind of turf grass you have. But especially like Solero is going to be effective across a very wide variety of turf types and is going to be extremely effective, even against more difficult to control sedges like Kalinga, for instance. Spurge is going nuts now. Is there anything that I can put down to control without screwing up my fall seeding? No, not really. No, you could maybe. Actually, I don't think that's going to work. So I don't know when your fall seeding is, but personally, I would just leave it alone and then deal with it later. Like the spurge is not going to affect your seed coming up that much, so I wouldn't worry about it really at all. I wouldn't worry about it. I'd just seed into it, be done with it, out of sight, out of mind. Vexus, look, Jason Traylor said Vexus. That's another good product too. Brand new lawn, high pH, planning on laying sod. Any recommendations for soil amendment before sod? Yes, whatever your Celero, Celero, Vexus is the other one, as Jason Traylor did it there. Truth Hunter, I did a whole video on Celero that you can look at, and pretty detailed information there. Breaks down the scientific analysis of why it actually works. What up, Lashay? And Brian Fuller, as far as any recommendations for soil amendment before sod, yes, whatever your soil test recommends. So if you take a soil test and you're deficient in phosphorus, go ahead and get that piece done. Or you're deficient in potassium, I probably wouldn't do a whole lot of mending there, but you got high pH. Go ahead and do a citric acid application, and then go ahead and start amending tilling in, some elemental sulfur or whatever the case may be. So. I would be trying to fix as many of those things as possible on the front end of that. Is 80 degrees too warm to see turf type tall fescue in a shaded area trying to beat fall leaves? No, definitely not. That's perfectly fine. Matt, do you have a memorial garden named after you? No, I do not. Can I spray glyphosate on my lime tree mulch beds to control Bermuda growing in? Don't want to damage my tree. Yes, as long as you keep it off the foliage, you'll be fine. Is it okay to put down Scotch starter fertilizer along with the Carbon X or 818? No, I would apply them separately at least 4 weeks apart. New construction lawns with zero topsoil has been the norm lately. What is the go-to attack these lawns? Aerate and apply X-Soil has been mine because I used to top dress those with organic matter to kind of kick them into overdrive. All right. I made it. I made it all the way to the end. Okay, it is 10:04. Like I said, it's my birthday. I'm going to go hang out with my wife. My kids went to bed, so we're going to go have a conversation and try and be normal adults for once. So thank you, everybody. I love you all. I will actually be here tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and crank out one of these shows tomorrow because I don't care. To hell with it. Line them up and we'll start knocking them down. So, sleep till Brooklyn. Wait. 3 lines only. Flazosulfuron Katana, my go-to for purple nutsedge with methylated seed oil for paspalum in Bermuda. No issues. Second for same grasses would be sedge hammer. There we go. Hey, man, I'm seeing quite a bit of doveweed in my St. Augustine. Any suggestions for use in Texas while it's still over 90 each day? Yeah, go at it early in the morning, and I would probably use Celsius in that regard, and I think it would be fine, too. Yeah, I think Paul is still trying to get in Zoom, so, we'll figure that out. I promise I'm going to end the stream, and he's going to call me. He's going to be like, I'm in Zoom. Where you at? What happened? Hi, night. All right, everybody, y'all have a fantastic evening, and we'll catch you on the flip side tomorrow.